Hello, Alden Alternate here. We have a fantastic interview today. We have the amazing Wisdom Weavers with us, all the way from the Gold Coast up the road from where I'm from. We have Julie Hogan and Elena Massey. Welcome to our interview today. So great to have you here.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Fantastic to have you here. Now, I know you've got a retreat coming up, which I'm very excited to chat about today. Before we get to that, I'd love to hear a bit more about both of you. So who would like to go first? Just share a little bit about your background and how it is you came to be known as the Wisdom Weavers.
I'm Julie Hogan. I have got a group called the Intuitive Women in Business Circle. And Elena came to my group breakfast one morning, and I just happened to say, I'd love to run a retreat, and I'll let Elena go into how she come to we joined forces. But I grew up in a domestic violence house, and so I'm an advocate against domestic violence. My sister died of CJD, which is Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, and it is prevalent in Australia, which our government is not recognising. And I've been through a lot of trauma in a small amount of years, and I did a lot of healing myself. And I thought I have to heal my physical, plus my mental, plus my intuitive self to find balance. And now I help others do the same. And this is what I'll be bringing into our retreat with Elena.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And Elena, a bit of your background.
I'm the intuitionist, and it was my intuition that actually labelled me that way, in that I was driving to Brisbane and I literally heard a voice that said, "You are the intuitionist." My background, I started off as a school teacher in England and in the Bahamas, and then I went on to do social work, and then I went on to do clinical social work. And I used to work in the areas of eating disorders and suicide prevention. And I then started working in that area. But I have been a clairvoyant medium since I was 19. And that came about when my mother died tragically. And it was about 2 weeks after she died, and I literally heard her crying in the bedroom upstairs. Well, as you can imagine, as the clinician, I thought I was going through some grief-stricken psychotic attack. And I heard this for 2 nights. And in mediumship, we talk about things being objective or subjective. In other words, we hear it as a thought in our mind, or we physically hear it outside. And this was objective. I literally heard her as loud as I can hear both of you. Well, I went on a search, and I went on to study at the Arthur Findlay College, wanting to understand the science of intuition. I've got a bit of a need for the scientific backgrounds of everything. So over the years, I was giving people readings to help them resolve grief with my mediumship. But I was also working in the trauma area, helping people resolve trauma. I'm an EMDR therapist, which is a very powerful tool for working with trauma. And about 2 years ago, I felt that I was still stuck. I didn't know what it was. I knew something hadn't been healed within myself. And I went to a place called The Dawn in Thailand, and they deal with trauma recovery. And I was listening to a conversation between a couple of people in a group I was in, and one woman was sharing her stories around addiction, and another person was sharing their stories around their gambling. And it was like my intuition kicked in, and I realized that I had worked with addiction. I had experienced a number of traumas in my own life. And even when I was doing my teacher training, I worked in a casino. And I went, everything about my life has prepared me to work with trauma. And I started to create the trauma replacement method. However, my yearning to help people work with their intuition just overtook me. And I realized that there are some really skilled trauma therapists However, what I bring to the table is my ability to teach people how to work with different levels of intuition to the point that they can expand their business in their life by tapping into the divine mind, which is really where my mediumship goes. It's almost like you've got your masculine and your feminine. They come together through the universal laws, and then you get oneness. And for me, when I was helping people in that area, they were experiencing peace in a way that they'd never experienced before. So when I started talking to Julie, we realized that we both had experienced trauma. We had both been trained clinically for working with trauma. We both had these intuitive gifts or skills. You can look at it either way. And yes, Julie's right. I heard her mention a retreat several years ago, and then we came into each other's space again, and I sowed the seed about working together. And the name, literally, both of our intuitive sides just popped in with, let's call ourselves the Wisdom Weavers, because we're weaving the wisdom of, I think Julie said in a post the other day that between us, we've got over 100 years, 120 years of experience. So that's what brought us together. And I'm thoroughly enjoying working with Julie. We've just, the longer we've been working together, building this retreat, the more we have, in one of her words, it's so funny. Everything, we just seem to be laughing a lot more, and we're excited about taking this to a group of women. That's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elena. Of course, you're both members of the Mass Media Mastery Program as well, which is amazing when we found out that you live about a 5-minute walk from each other as well, which is unbelievable. I mean, what are the chances, really? That is insane. Or you know, are there any such things as coincidences nowadays? It's absolutely amazing. No. How did you feel when you found that out? Were you a bit shocked?
It was really, because I mean, I honestly, the more we work together, the more I absolutely believe that my language, the intuitionist with the spirit world, that we were put together because there's a vibration that climbs when we're together. We've got the synergy more than we would have done on our own. And I was talking on a live just recently that with all the COVID, with mental health reaching 8 billion, with political unrest, with all the natural forest fires and floods, we need to come together with our resources. And even when I'm talking, the hairs on my arms are standing out, which just actually proves to me consistently that Julie and I were put together.
I think collaborating with other women absolutely lifts the whole energy of our world, you know, because women are the leaders in families, and that flows on to the community. Yeah. And that is what we're bringing together at our retreat, to build a bigger community and a stronger community.
So, beautiful. And balancing out the masculine and the feminine energies is a very interesting thing nowadays, because so many, you know, so many women act so masculine and so many men act so feminine. You know, like, it's really, there's such an imbalance happening out there. And, you know, how to keep the balance. I mean, what are some of your tips on how to maintain a balance of masculine and feminine within each person?
Well, I believe, like, I live in my intuitive self, probably more so than out in the world. And when we do this, it's more about the other person. It's not about me. It's about what I can do for someone else. And that actually lifts the energy in the world. So if you're married and with a husband, you wake up each morning and go, what can I do to make his day better? And if you do that for each other, it seems to work. Like, every day you wake up and you think, I just have to do one thing or two things for my family to make their lives better. And it's not about us, it's about everyone else. And that flows on to the community. So
I agree. I received a text with some photographs from a previous client at the weekend, and she'd come because she had relationship problems we started working with her intuition, and I would never have guessed that she would have come with one presenting problem in relation to a marriage, and she's taken herself to a whole different pathway because we were fusing together the skills that I have and her passions with the intuition. And I think now, based on universal laws, we must start fusing these two together. And I think that's why a lot of women have been getting so stressed under this alpha female model, because we need to. We were even on one of your calls this morning with your mastery, and a business gentleman there said he relies on women and their intuition to guide his business practice. And I think that's really saying a lot of how the world is moving forward in that direction.
And I think men are feeling a bit left out because women are.
And half the thing is just getting conscious when you are being more masculine.
Exactly. And we've got to think about our thoughts and our wording as well.
And, getting
very clear on our thoughts, because that everything is energy. And if you're thinking something, you're going to get more of what you're thinking, more of what you're speaking. So speaking from love and gratitude, of course, it's going to lift everyone around you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and getting conscious of when you're being masculine or when you're being feminine. Even if you look feminine, you could be acting masculine, or if you look masculine, you could be acting feminine. So a bit of both is needed. So I don't think you want to be swinging too far one way or too far the other way. I think we need the balance of the masculine and feminine.
I think from an intuitive perspective, the intuition needs you to listen. And so we're listening to the wisdom that we weave together, and then you take action with your masculine. So in actual fact, we need them both weaving together, which is again why we seem to come up with this wisdom weaver name, because that's what we're doing all the time. We're listening through our intuition and then acting from our masculine.
So true.
Yeah, beautiful. So what are some of your top tips to awaken wisdom in life and business for success? What are some of your top tips today?
I would say go to a quiet place, meditate for 20 minutes, do 20 minutes of journaling, being grateful for everything, and just listen to your answers and do your exercises like 20 minutes. I'm a big believer in the 20-20-20 and and when you're meditating, just have a pen and piece of paper, and you may write down some messages that you get while you're meditating. Meditation doesn't mean that you just focus on nothing. It means thoughts will float in and float out, and that is a part of meditation, and knowing that, allowing the thoughts to go and come.
Sonny, meditation, I've tried a number of strategies over the past with, following a mantra, staring at a candle. I've listened to music, and more recently, I see meditation like listening to music, in that I just breathe and listen, and the wisdom of the universe speaks. I've over my last, I started doing transcendental meditation about 40 years ago, and I've probably tried everything. But the more I understand that I get up very early to meditate in the morning, where my mind isn't filled with all this chatter, but it's this settling. And like Julie, the 20-20, well, I don't know whether I've got the same proportions, because I need to be out in nature, so I walk. I live on the Gold Coast. I'm very fortunate to walk along the Broadwater, and that's probably the more grounded I feel, the greater access to intuition. People think they've got to float off somewhere, and yet from my experience, the more grounded in my body and on the earth, the easier it is to access those higher levels of intuition.
I love that. And some tips for grounding.
Grounding is vital. Especially a lot of intuitive people are highly sensitive, empaths, and there's a lot of research. I always use the analogy of an electric plug, that you've got positive and negative. That's the sort of things going on in your brain, left and right side. But unless the plug is earthed, it short circuits. And we are very easily, as an empath or a highly intuitive, sensitive person, you will short circuit unless you ground yourself. And if you're sensitive to picking up all, the advantage is, yes, you can tap into these higher frequencies. Unless you know how, the disadvantage is that we pick up all the energies from everybody else as well.
And, you can clear yourself off, you can protect yourself. I 95% of my day, I don't wear shoes. I'm always on the ground. I smell herbs is a really beautiful grounding. Smell flowers. Do your breathing exercises throughout the day to realign your nervous system, because what I've been told lately, or by listening to people, they're all in a high anxiety zone. Yeah. And once you learn to breathe, just do it throughout the day. Every time you have a drink, do deep breathing, and it'll realign your nervous system. And that's a vital thing for me to help people with.
Yeah, I totally agree, Julie.
So that's probably a hint.
That's great. I love going to the beach. It's something I do to ground myself, is I put my feet in the sand and I go for a walk on the beach barefoot, and then get into that ocean and get that salt water on you too. Even though it's water, it's still so grounding and so refreshing.
Yep.
And bushwalking, I love connecting with nature, even just going and standing outside under a tree, or just putting your hand on a tree, or just connecting with nature, taking a deep breath, and or appreciating birds, or insects, even so much.
Look in baby's eyes, and or a kind face. It's lovely to see a smile at the shopping centre and smile back. It's just heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Being in the present moment, you were saying about looking at a baby's eyes or being in the water. That's all about being present in the moment. And I can remember a Buddhist activity years ago that, we sort of say, oh, yes, I'm always in the now. We had an exercise where we had to put one finger on one knee and one on the other. And every time we were thinking of the past, we'd lift the finger up. And every time we were thinking of the future, we'd lift the finger up. And I can remember thinking, my goodness, my fingers keep going up, because I wasn't actually in the now. And that was just such a simple technique, but very powerful.
Yes.
I love that.
Our hands are wonderful tools. They can tell us so much.
Yes.
And there's exercises you can do with them, like you can get rid of any anxiety with your hands, if you know how to do it.
Yes.
And
Julie's going to show some of those particular techniques at the retreat, because she's quite masterful at those things.
I love mirroring hands, and that was Richard Hill, and forgotten. Wow, isn't that terrible? I've forgotten Eddie's surname, but he's just passed away a couple of weeks ago, and he was founder, like a massive hypnotherapist. So yeah.
So tell us about this retreat. When is it? Where is it? How can people come and get involved?
It is up at Solitude Retreat. So it's a retreat within a retreat in Numbamba Valley, which is only 30 minutes from Nerang. Very easy to find. You get on one road and you just follow that straight through. At our retreat, we'll be doing mindful exercises, of course. We'll be doing meditation. We will be doing gratification. We'll be doing forums with women. You can either come and share, or you can just sit back and listen, but I'm sure everyone will take something home with them that is precious to them. So what else would you like to add to that?
It's in November.
Julie came up with the idea when we're having a fire pit, And she said, I think we should have a pajama party at the fire pit. I think, what an amazing idea. So there's going to be a lot of letting go of the old on Saturday evening so that you can birth the new. And I love the way when women come together, they share and support. I mean, the days of the women's circle, we're really wanting to create that again, because that women sometimes haven't had a voice, and we want everyone within it to have that voice to share. So it's very much about being really clear about who you are when you get there, why you want to do that, and we will accommodate, because it's not Julie and I that's the retreat, it's our retreat. It's a group of 12 women, including us. So we'll be reflecting, the more we get to know each other and enjoy being together, we're noticing that we would be flexible to say, well, someone say, I really need to do this. And between the two of us and the skills we have, one of us will say, oh, I know what we can do here. And so we want to accommodate. Yes, we started off with a very tight program. However, we're opening it up and blossoming, because when the group synergy happens, some of our content might go out the window, and some of the content that these people need will be introduced. And I think both between us and within the group of women, the program could be very, very flexible. Yeah. As long as we want people to walk away feeling nourished, replenished, renewed, they've met new friendships, they know where they're going. And when I was talking to someone a few weeks ago on another one of my bushwalking haunts, I was asking a lady what she does for a living, and she said, oh, I help my husband in our work, but I used to love making jewelry. So I said, well, where is it? And she said, oh, it's all in boxes. So I said, well, why don't we have on the Sunday afternoon that people come and promote their own businesses? So the challenge I gave her was to come out, get the beads out of the boxes and promote her jewelry on Sunday afternoon. And so Sunday afternoon will be a lot of us inspiring women to not hide, but to show and shine.
I love it. I love it. Now, the dates, for anyone that wants to know, there is an event set up in Facebook. It's November 13 to 15, which is in just a few weeks' time. And it is limited numbers. So if you are interested, I think this will be a really, really special event and something very unique that you're not going to get every day. In fact, the two of you are so unique on your own. I'm sure you both do amazing events individually. Bringing the two of you together is going to be twice as powerful. So Awakening Wisdom Retreat, if you look that up on Facebook, you'll see all the details there. And it is great to have some you time. A lot of people are very stressed at the moment with COVID and with everything going on. So to take some time out for you so you can rejuvenate, refresh, calm your busy mind, get away from the busyness of life and come to this amazing retreat. I think it will be a wonderful collaboration and connections to be made. So if you are interested, it's a fantastic price too. I'm quite amazed at what you're offering. Actually, if you could share that, what you're offering there, the price and what people get.
Elaine, have you got the prices? I don't know the prices. It's $7.90.
At the moment, the early bird was $7.99, which really, when you consider full accommodation, shared accommodation, which would be great because women can chat away, and the food and the environment, that's the price. But if you bring someone else along, then there's a discount to that.
And also, if you book directly from our website and pay directly into our account, you will get it for 10% less. Plus, if you bring a friend along, well, you're actually getting probably 20% less. So, it is a very good price. We probably undercut our prices because it's our first one. But I'm sure everyone will go home being able to self-soothe themselves and their families and friends, and that I'm sure they'll come back for a second time.
Yeah. And what's coming for me is that, people always ask me, is mediumship a gift, or are you born with it, or is it something you can learn? And I would like to demonstrate to people that everyone is capable of tapping into that world. And on the Saturday afternoon, I want to show people that you are capable of working with your intuition, and you are capable of tapping into those higher levels of frequency, because it's based on love. And so the more you work with that vibration of intuition, you will be feeling the love inside yourself, and it will be radiating out. And so one of the missions, I think, as we've talked together about this, that yes, we both have this analytical capacity to work with trauma and clinical worlds, but we want people to walk away feeling more of who they are.
Yeah. Because we're more than just a body. We all know that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So some of the exercise, now I can see Kerry Mercell's put a comment on your Facebook event, and she says that she has some disabilities. She can't do yoga. So she would like to know exactly what's going to be at the retreat, and if someone does have some physical issues, will they still be able to participate?
Yes, but the retreat hasn't got like wheelchair access or anything like that.
Okay.
With yoga, we may be doing not yoga exercises. We're doing just gentle other exercises or walking or whatever. What's your view on that?
We talked about this before, and people do a lot. I'm not surprised with the question, because people automatically assume that when you go to a retreat, you're going to do yoga. And we've got this set up in the mornings that there's a labyrinth there, and I know one of us will do something around the labyrinth. There was one of the potential participants who's been doing some study around mindfulness. However, it's your choice. You could just literally say, you know what, I don't want to be involved with the morning activity. I'd like to just walk in nature, blend with Mother Earth, and spend some time alone. And that's quite appropriate. If you want to not be involved with anything that we're running, use the time to just nourish your soul with people and food and Mother Nature. You don't have to be, it's not at school. You don't have to be part of every single activity. So please don't think yoga is going to be pulling, we don't have a yoga teacher. And as much as I love yoga, I'm not going to be teaching it. And
I think it'll be a lot of meditation.
Yeah.
Because I'm disabled myself, as you two already know. I've got a disability, and I might even take my walking stick. Who knows? But I'm sure it'll be fun for everyone. There's something. There's the creek. There's, like, as you said, Elena, the labyrinths. There's beautiful lawn that you can just sort of
sit there. Do you know, it's really strange, because we were going to run it somewhere else. And I was sitting listening to Julie tell me a story where we often meet for coffee. And we didn't know at the time that the mother who actually set up the retreat had passed to spirit. And suddenly I could literally feel her in the corner. And I remember feeling all goosey all the way down, because I said to Julie, I think we've got the wrong venue. And she'd seen the solitude, and we thought, this lady that's now in the spirit world really wants this retreat to happen. So don't be aware, be open to the fact that your whole understanding of connection to spirit will just awaken. So in relation to not doing yoga, you won't be doing yoga, because we don't have a yoga teacher. But we'd love to just chat with you, sit on the lawn with me, then I get a chance to earth as well.
And I think a lot of meditation, a lot of work internally will be done. And I think that's what we're bringing to the party.
Yeah.
So yoga and exercises. Yeah. Yes, there will be exercises, but that will be up to your own discretion.
Yeah. And like Julie was saying, we're both very avid journal writing, and we've both got different ways that we journal. And, you know, one or both ways will add to it. So sit on the grass and get a pen and notebook and just allow that amazing environment to talk to you through the pen. So,
Yes.
you know, that would be much more nourishing for someone who doesn't like yoga or has a disability around it. So,
But
yeah, you're
even
free to do that.
yeah, just doing breathing exercises,
exactly.
it can be exercise within
Yeah.
itself. You can actually wear yourself out just doing breathing exercises.
Deep breathing and breathing from the diaphragm, right? Breathing in,
Yep.
breathing in through the nose and out through the, so you can out through the nose too, out through the nose and out through the mouth. It's interesting, the two different, because if you breathe in and out of your mouth, you end up with a very dry mouth, right? So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose is often very a yogic breath. And noticing your belly, if you put your hand under your belly, feeling your belly go out as you breathe in, just getting conscious of that, of breathing deeply rather than chest breathing,
Yes.
as a lot of people do, is very powerful and amazing how relaxing it is.
Exactly. And how, like, you can get really worn out by it, like when you really concentrate on breathing exercises. And it's so good for the muscles anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Yes. Now, I want to get back to the point on presence, because I think this is really huge, particularly nowadays. And I was just looking online and I'm quite staggered by what I have just noticed on the internet. Now, it says here that humans have anywhere between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. And according to some research, as many as 98% of our thoughts are exactly the same as we had the day before. How's that for creatures of habit? And even more significant is 80% of most people's thoughts are negative. Isn't that interesting? 80% of thoughts are negative and 98% are the same as the day before out of our 60,000 odd thoughts a day. That is unbelievable. So coming to something like a retreat and being open to what may happen would be an amazing thing, to just get out of that routine of the day-to-day.
I do
so powerful.
I do an exercise where you can quieten your mind. Like, you just have to tell it. Everything we think, we can guide our mind to do. So I actually do a meditation where I say, be still my mind. Be still my mind. And it's amazing how still you can become within yourself when you learn those techniques. And just be in and not think about your what's surrounding you. Just be there and just not engaged with anything, but just be in the now. It's amazing.
The power is in the present.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Power is in the present. And I'd love to hear some more tips for tapping into your intuition and how to awaken wisdom. So Awakening Wisdom Retreat you've got coming up. How to awaken wisdom, particularly if people think that they're not intuitive, or they're not, you know, some people think psychic, right? I mean, let's look at that. You know, psychic versus intuitive. What's the difference?
For me, the psychic world, we have an auric field or an energy field around us, and you can say you're a psychic or you do psychic readings, but I'm more interested in working with the spirit world. And a psychic reading does not necessarily mean that the person is linking to those higher levels of intuition. All they're doing is reading the energy field that's around the person. And a psychic reading will pick up what's happening in their life now. However, because we are gifted with free will, we just have to choose a different path, and everything that's just been read changes. So my use of intuition is much more about linking with the spirit. And I study under one of Eileen Davis is one of England's best mediums, and I study with her at 3:30. I'll be there on the Zoom call Thursday morning, now that they've unfortunately changed their time zones. So I am not just, although I've been around this for 40 years, I'm still learning from the best, which is what I will then be sharing. So that's, to me, is the difference between a psychic reading with, say, cards, and people can read them powerfully, or linking to spirit. And in this Saturday afternoon, I will be helping people understand the difference of their energy, somebody else's energy, how you can read energy, the differences in the different speed of energy, because it gets faster. And when I teach, I used to run a circle for 2 years, and I would say to people that the spirit world have to drop their energy for us, and we have to lift ours for any form of communication to take place. And I work with helping people tap into leaders in the spirit world. And I think some of the greats that have really laced our world with an incredible legacy are wanting to share the wisdom, because the more we can connect with that love, the more we're going to bring peace to the world. And I think that they are waiting. You know, there's a universal law, as above, so below, as within, so without, which means that we can bring heaven to earth. And when I talked, the more I've got to know Julie, I know that she's dedicated to exactly the same cause, bringing heaven to earth, bringing families together and bringing peace and love. And yeah, we can have that. It starts with each one of us.
See, mine is more about the feeling of other people's feelings. That's what I feel. Yeah. I don't feel this. Well, I do have spirit world around me, but I'm more into people's feelings, and like I feel everything that someone, like I only have to be with someone and I can feel their energy, and I can help them lift that.
Absolutely.
With, love and gratitude, and once I know how to lift it, it makes the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'd agree that more, I mean, you've got grandchildren, some of them now, the ones that are being born, are so switched on, they're more awake than we are.
And I think we allow them to be too. I think parents are more in tune to allowing them to be within their intuitive self, where we were told to put it away, don't bring that up, you're mad or whatever, where these days we encourage it.
It's interesting because, you know, with that thing, I mean, I hold 3 university degrees, and you know, the amount of times I had to keep that other part of me quiet, because in my clinical world, you know, now I don't care. Now I'm very open about who I am and what I do. But back in the day, I didn't used to tell people about that other side of me. I would work with it, and a client would come and see me and I'd be working with it, but I didn't share that I had that skill. And then people would wonder why I was able to help people work so fast to get to a point. The same as Julie, you know, we're constantly weaving those 2 aspects within our work.
Yeah, we've done some work together, actually, Elena, which was quite remarkable. And one thing we did is we tapped into the wisdom of Janis Joplin. And I was able to tap into some messages that I then soon after that actually saw a documentary on Janis Joplin, and that same message came out in that documentary, which it was extraordinary. And, you know, sometimes, you know, we can doubt ourselves sometimes. We think, am I, you know, and the more you're getting your head around, am I talking to this or communicating with this energy, or you know, is it God energy, is it source energy, is it, the more you get in your head sometimes, the less that comes to you. So letting go and trusting is a really big thing, isn't it?
Yeah. The interesting thing, you know, is in the quantum physics, they say energy doesn't die. For example, you have ice, which becomes water, becomes steam, becomes energy. So just, you know, why people would think, you know, I've heard, oh, well, you're dead, you're dead. But you lose your body, but spirit carries on. And so even if you don't believe you were talking to Janis Joplin, but you were talking about energy doesn't die, so that collective thought that she had when she was on the physical plane is there. So it doesn't matter whether someone believes it or not. I know that from my own, give you an example of how valuable it can be. I was very much connected to a man called Paul Solomon in the 80s, and he talked about 3 types of human: the ordinary, the someone that makes possible, the one that makes the ones that change the world. And I was just happily drawing on this material, and I suddenly was in not a meditation, but I was just sitting at home, and I literally heard that there are 4 and 5 levels now. And so suddenly I was getting more information. So it was no longer 3, it became 5. Now, did I get that from Paul Solomon? Did I get that from the quantum field or the zero field? Does it matter? I just knew that I was able to develop a model and advance a model that someone else had been doing who died in the 80s. So, you know, where the information comes, if it's about healing and bringing the world to peace, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And just trusting the messages that come through, and just not overanalyzing. I think that's the thing, is often this monkey chatter can come in, and, you know, and you have, out of those 60,000 thoughts a day, you know, all those thoughts coming in and out. So really practicing the presence and being in the moment and trusting and reaching out. I think that's really, really crucial and a fantastic thing to know and to tap into, you know, when you could be feeling stuck in life or in business. And having that knowledge that you can access that, it's almost like a superpower. You know, you can access that superpower at any moment.
It is.
And yeah, and how that can guide you through life rather than, you know, being like the mouse on the wheel, you know, attempting to do everything yourself, and, you know, tapping into that higher guidance that's in us and all around us. It's a really remarkable thing, and such a great thing to be able to fine tune that skill, I guess, that you know, to be able to tap into that and trust that, which no doubt you'll be teaching people about at the retreat.
Yeah, we will.
Yes, and muscle testing. They'll learn muscle testing as well. And I mean, medical people are actually using that technique anyway. So it's not all airy-fairy stuff or woohoo stuff that we're teaching. A lot of it is science-based. So, you know, I always come back to Dr. David Hawkins, because I think in the 1970s, he was way before his time. He was a scientist who measured energy. And I'd love to know the energy of the world today with, you know, with everything that's going on. But I think all the empaths are coming together to lift, and they're keeping the energy up there rather than just letting it all fall to nothing. And I believe on 21st of the 12th, our world is going to have a massive shift. It's not going to change visually, but energy-wise, there's going to be a big shift in our world. So that's a date to just jot down, just to see what happens.
It's interesting. You know, we are in uncertain times. We're in unprecedented times at the moment. And, you know, the 100th monkey effect is an interesting thing to look at, because I think there is a shift in consciousness that's happening right now across the world, where certain people are waking up to what is going on out there and waking up to what is possible, right? Rather than being dumbed down by fear and being brainwashed and not realizing they're being brainwashed. And if you haven't heard of the 100th monkey effect, it's actually an observed phenomenon in which a new behavior or idea spreads rapidly by unexplained means from one group to all related groups once a critical number of members of one group show certain behavior about the new idea. And the monkey story is based on 100 monkeys that, you know, started to one of the behavioral changes was actually sweet potato washing that happened with 100 monkeys. And then in another part of the world, nowhere near these 100 monkeys, other monkeys in other parts of the world started to wash their sweet potatoes in water so that they could eat them easier. So fascinating what is happening right now. And, you know, the world is waking up, I believe. And it's amazing the work that you do, Julie and Elena, to help wake the world up too and bring more peace. And I know, Elena, you're stand for global peace, and so are you, Julie. Peace from the inside out, right? Bringing that peace, being the change you want to see in the world. And for anyone watching this right now, what tips do you have for us? Please feel free to pop in the comments on how to awaken wisdom for life and business success. What are some things that you do? What are some other things that both you and Julie and Elena, what do you do also to awaken wisdom? Maybe when you might be having some days where you're feeling a bit low, or, you know, what are some quick change of states that you do to help
I do a lot
tap into this power?
I do a lot of clearing of my chakras every morning as well, and every night before I go to bed. I normally only get to the heart when I'm asleep though, but yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. But rest, if you need rest, take the rest, I would say, because we all need to rejuvenate every now and again. And I don't know, I just do my little routine, and which I'd share with everyone. There's just, being in the now most of the time helps me a lot, plus writing a book. I'm writing my story, and I think that's a cleansing in itself. If you can get whatever's in your head on paper and get rid of it, because that's probably the quickest way of getting rid of any negatives. So that would be my tip.
For me, it's all
Clear the
for me, it's nature, going for a swim or walking around Broadwater, bushwalking. However, I'm very grateful that just lately I seem to keep attracting people. Like I've spent hours with Aldwyn and feeling like she came to me in one environment and now she's become a special friend. And the same with Julie. We came with one thing and then all of a sudden. So I think there's a law of precession that says your goals are at right angles to your true purpose. So sometimes we think you connect with someone for some reason, but the real reason is never revealed until you actually connect. And I'm finding that more and more, that like-minded people are coming together. And again, on the retreat, that's what I honestly believe, that we are just the conduits. We're just creating the space, because if you're being pulled towards joining us, there's another reason, probably beyond the content or beyond what Julie or I can provide for you. There's something that you're being called to discover, or someone to meet, that you would never know what it is unless you join us. And that's what's happening with friendships right now. It's the most extraordinarily magical time in the world.
Absolutely. Trusting that intuition. If you feel a prompting, if you're feeling drawn, even watching this right now, there's a reason you're watching this right now, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, there's a reason you've been drawn to this. So what is that reason for you? And maybe coming to the retreat, you will awaken whatever that is. Maybe it'll be one amazing connection you make at the retreat that can make all the difference for you. Life is all about connections as well.
And you'll be drawn to both or one of us. And so contact either of us or both. And, if there's any extra questions that you don't feel like you want to ask now, well, just contact Julie or myself, or, send us a message. We'll just sit and chat to you on the phone about what we can add or reassure you about the retreat. Because it's more than just a retreat. There's a calling. You'll be feeling called to join. And I think that's the power of it.
I think that is the energy of when you get a group of ladies together in a circle, the energy between you and to support, soothe, or whatever you need. Everything is confidential at our retreat. I feel, even though they'll take, ladies will take stuff home with them to share, but everything that's said will be confidential. It's like women's business.
Yeah.
And just for women, the retreat, can men come?
Sorry?
No, sorry.
No men at this one?
We had a gentleman say he would like to dress up as a transvestite. One of your members. And I thought he was beautiful. I'd love for him to come along, but sorry, he's in Victoria. He can't come.
Yeah. It's funny. I had another person when I was walking at the weekend, and another gentleman. And really, the only reason we're not having, mixed is because of the limited accommodation. If we'd have had enough space to have men and women, however, we don't have that, and that's the only reason. Otherwise, we would have loved it to have been a mixed group. So come along to this one, and then we'll organise something that perhaps isn't residential, that Julie and I can run, that men can be coming.
True.
Yes, wonderful.
gather
Well, that
your
would be
men
great to have a mixed one down the track.
Yes, I think they'll gather your men together,
Yeah.
and Julie and I we've got our own separate place, so we can run it for you. It's another option.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm sure you'd be available for private group, private work with couples and,
Absolutely.
with men as well. If men want that, I know you both have worked with men, and we
Yeah.
love men in our life. And in this one,
Absolutely.
it's going to be specific women's circle one. And if you go back to the tribal days, the women need their time together and the men need their time together. So this is going to be a women's time together one, and time for an amazing women's circle of 12 women altogether. So very limited for space, and accommodations included again, food's included. Food's included, beautiful healthy food.
And then you get to learn a lot of stuff about yourself. If you ask your friends to say 3 words about you, I bet their words aren't the same as what you're thinking of yourself.
No.
Yes, Julie, I'd say you're probably right there. And I heard a great thing the other day. I just want to share this. I was at an online event, and they said, look at yourself in the mirror, look into your own eyes, deep into your own eyes, and say, I love you. I truly, truly love you.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing.
I'm doing this on live. Because I'm doing this live, I've got someone at my door that Julie has organised. So I'm just going to go and invite someone in, and then I will be back. 1 minute.
Got it. All good. Thank you, Elena. This is the beauty of live streaming. So back to the point, looking at yourself.
I'm supposed to be at Elena's at 1:30, so it'll be lucky she only lives 2 minutes away.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up. That's lucky. That's lucky. Okay, well, we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up in just a moment, so we'll wait for Elena to come back and say goodbye to everybody. And so on that point, loving yourself is so important, right? Loving yourself, being able to look yourself in the mirror, look at yourself deep in your eyes and say, I love you. I truly, truly love you. Any tips on that, on how to love yourself more? Any final tips on that so you can also tap into this wisdom?
Go to our website, www.thewisdomweavers, and there's heaps of information on loving yourself on the website.
Awesome. Fantastic.
And I'm thinking about how Louise Hay used to say, mirror work works.
Yes.
So look into the mirror and just look at yourself and really appreciate how beautiful as a human being you are.
Mirror, mirror.
Absolutely. I love that. I love it. I love it. Fill your own cup up first so you can help others with the overflow.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Julie Hogan, Elena Massey, the Wisdom Weavers, having an amazing Awakening Wisdom Retreat coming up November 13 to 15. Check it out, Awakening Wisdom Retreat. Any final words from either of you?
I would like to say thank you, Aldwyn, for all this time you've given us, and thank you for all your support over the last few months. Yeah.
And I'd like to say the same. And thank you, Julie. Thank you, Aldwyn, and for the listeners. And I look forward to seeing you at our retreat.
Thank you, Elena. I'll see you in 2 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And please subscribe to Media Queen TV if you haven't already. This is streamed through there, and it's on Facebook on the Aldwyn Alternate Media Queen page and on my profile. So please connect. Check out the Wisdom Weavers. Get to the retreat if you can. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much. And remember, be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi says. Signing out now. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Elaine.